Chatty house. We ballin', boy. We going up at the Chatty house. We talk about it all, bring the family out. Sub to the channel, hit the likes now. And we only going up when the lights down. Yeah, we just getting started. Ain't no party like a Chatty house party. We just getting started. Ain't no party like a Chatty house party.
What up? What up?
What's going on?
Man down, man down. That's what it looks like right now. Got a couple people out, but it's all good. Drew will try to join us later if possible. Warren is tackling a kid, I'm sure, somewhere in the house. Cameron will be back with us at some point. He's got some stuff going on too. But as Mitch from the hood would always say, what's cracking? What's going on?
The rain is what's going on.
The rain is going on. I got my little Mitch hotline phone here just in case one day he calls in. I'm waiting. I know one day it's going to ring. I know it is, and I'm ready for it. Could be any day. So before, obviously, it was a big weekend with the Kings, and we got a bunch of music to talk about. So we'll get the NFL over with. I don't think anybody had a good weekend, so that doesn't have to be that quick, right? Everybody here at the table lost, so which is pretty rare. And then even I don't think it didn't matter who would have been here. Yeah, so Niners lost. That's probably the most unexpected out of every. Well, no, I think Kansas City kind of was creeping. It was going to happen at some point. Like the way that they were playing with house money a lot. They were playing with they were playing with fire for a while, for a couple games. So I just thought at some point, didn't matter who it was. They just it was going to be something that happened that they weren't going to be able to overcome it. So what'd you think about the game, Trina?
Yeah, it's good.
Oh, no. There it is. Frozen Trina.
Did anybody call it in the chat?
Is it Frozen
Any
Katrina?
times?
Is it Frozen? I don't know. There, look at that. That's it right there. Snapshot that look right there. Yes. The ham virus. It's the ham virus. It's here. Oh, man.
I couldn't have said it better myself, Katrina.
That's how the game made you feel, Katrina? Like you're just ready to zap out?
I don't know. Am I still frozen?
No, you're not frozen now. You better get your take off before you leave.
This is going to be rough. No, I called it. I was worried about the Bills game because it's always a dogfight when the two teams play. So it is what it is.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think they're. Is this their bye week?
No, they play the Panthers.
Okay, but I think you guys get Pacheco back.
Yeah,
I think you guys get Pacheco back, which is big. So, so that should be good. So I don't know, man. I don't know. I mean, I still think they need another receiver at some point. Is Kelsey hurt or is he playing?
There's something going on with him.
Yeah,
has the Swifty flu, I think.
He doesn't look normal. Like
no.
He looks like something's going on.
And David, you had asked me, like he was playing really well for like 2 weeks, and then I really don't know what's going on.
No, we'll see. But man, so I guess I'll ask you, Katrina. It's been a lot's been made of Patrick Mahomes turning the ball over a lot this season. Like, is he forcing stuff? Is the line doing as well? I don't watch a lot of Chiefs football, but like, what do you think's the cause of it?
I'm not sure. He has a lot of pressure. He has it feels like he has the whole game on his shoulders, and that's how the game kind of ended. He was like running the ball, trying to score himself. He was trying to do it all. So I think that pressure is getting to him. But up until this week, they won. He found a way to win. So, and with their schedule coming up, they play the Panthers, Raiders, Chargers, Browns, Texans, Steelers, and Broncos. The Steelers, maybe the Broncos have me a little, but
yeah, I think it's some of the stuff's caught up. They've had to let guys go, right? Like Tyreek Hill and a bunch of other guys. And then with Rice out, Pacheco out, like that's a big chunk of that offensive unit. And I put a lot of pressure on other guys. And Travis isn't a spring chicken anymore either. Like he's been doing this for a while. So there was bound to be a drop off at some point in some way. So, I mean, that's just the nature of the beast. I think they've kept it together pretty long and pretty well for the most part, as far as they've kind of been like, obviously with more success, but kind of like the Niners, you know what I'm saying? Like where they've been able to bring back the same team for the most part. A couple guys leave here and there, but they've maintained playing, at least being a upper echelon team for the most part, so, but unlike the Niners, who have seemed to have fallen off a cliff to an extent, it seems like they're at that, I don't know, like Kyle mentioned, like it's just that this seems to be that year where it's nothing's going right for them no matter what, whether it's injuries, whatever it is, guys, CMC looks like a shell of himself right now. Obviously, he's still working himself back into the game. Debo is non-existent, but he's always hurt here and there too. So who knows how hurt he is playing right now. And obviously, Ayuk is out. So it's like there's a lot for them to overcome. But it seems like even when some of those guys were there, they just couldn't score in the red. Even Ayuk was. I mean, when they were full on, had everybody, they couldn't score in the red zone. So I mean, it's not like that's the reason why. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know. It just seems like it's going to be that year, and everybody seems to have Shanahan's head on a platter. Which for me, I think that's ridiculous as hell. I'm not going to go T-Cereal over all that. Like it's not like for my Bears where he can get the hell out of town in Chicago, but he ain't got no track record to be holding on to. At least Shanahan has a good track record of what he's done with that team. So I don't know.
Yeah, I mean their season just seems disjointed because of all the injuries. I mean it.
You're talking about.
Yeah, no worries. With obviously McCaffrey going down and injuries on the both sides of the ball. Trent, he looks kind of old. I mean he's not playing as well as he has been in my opinion. The one I know that San Francisco football team, as Ramsey would put it, like I said, it just seems disjointed. Like they can't get on a roll. Is that because of injuries or how they're playing? I don't know. But then to kind of echo what Manny said, I don't get the Shanahan hate from some people, that are calling for his job. It's like who are you going to replace him with? Guy took you to the Super Bowl. He can't throw the ball for you. He can't run the ball for you. Either he's a genius play caller or he's not. I tend to think that he is. He schemes people open, and the kind of like what Kenny says. The defense has to play too. The other team's there.
Yeah.
Teams are going to get up for him and play him tough. So I don't know.
I'll take him. You got him, want him. I'll take him. Shoot. Better than what I got in Chicago. So, yeah, in a heartbeat. Like, no coach is perfect. Like, I mean, like, they were talking about on the show, like, look at Andy Reid's track record before he got, like, he was being written off everywhere. He can't win the big one. He can't, he's good here, but in the playoffs he blunders, or he can get only so far. He's got to go. But it's as much personnel as it is anything else, right? Like, guys have to do their jobs too. And that's part of the problem too in San Francisco is it's not just the scheming, it's guys aren't doing their jobs. Bosa can do his little Trump dance all he wants to every once in a while, but there's a lot of plays where he's non-existent too. Like he had a good game last game, I think, but like there was a couple games where he was nowhere to be seen for most of the game, except for a play or two. Warner had to carry a whole defense by himself one game. I mean, it goes all around on offense too, like guys not running routes, guys not being where they're supposed to be. Brock, obviously, he's had a couple blunders here and there too, where last game he hits that one throw and the game's over. So, and you can't tell that was drawn up perfectly. Like all he had to do was execute. You can't make guys execute. Like you can only draw up the plays. So you can complain all you want to, but guys have to do their jobs too. You could have the most genius offense in the world, right? Like, doesn't matter if the guys can't execute it. It looks like the worst offense in the world. So, gotta play the game,
one of the things
man.
too that that's been happening this year that I haven't seen the Niners, do this in a while. Is that they cannot stop the run. It's like teams can run on them now. Where that was just unthinkable. That was shut down, so you would have to throw on them. And it's like, man, that defense could be had. They're still pretty good, but they can be had. You go up to you catch Detroit on the right day with those 2 running backs that they got and those receivers. That's a tough game.
And the funny thing about what you just said too is, with all the talk of in the last couple of years, right, of running backs being used, abused, spit out, and taken to the trash, how ironic is it that both Barkley and Mixon have probably been the biggest moves of the offseason as far as how they've transformed the teams that they've gotten to. Like Mixon has been a godsend to Houston. Like, I know they struggled on and off, but he's done his job, and he's actually kept them afloat a lot when they've been struggling. And Barkley has just been head and shoulders above everybody over in Philadelphia. Like, everybody's playing well there. Obviously, they're 8-2, but he's really like shown that he hasn't lost a step in doing matrix moves. And I've never seen that. I've never seen anything like that in my life. I've never seen anybody in a live game, especially at the NFL level. Like, you expect to probably see something like this sometimes in high school, because I think in high school, when you're the dude, everybody around you moves so slow, literally like the Matrix. But you're talking about the NFL, the creme de la creme. All these guys move at that speed, and for him to do what he did, that's insane, man. So that's crazy to me. Like, running backs matter.
Case in point, look at the Raiders. Their running backs, I don't think they have anybody over and over, like averaging over like 3-point-something yards a carry. Garbage. I know their line's garbage, but still, it's like these guys are taking one hit and falling down, fumbling the ball.
Yeah.
Like, hole opens up and they just don't even see it. They run right into the offensive tackle. It's like it matters, man.
Yeah, they really, this is crazy how much that shifted in the last 20 years. Like running, like money-wise, everything, like running backs are basically treated like a dime a dozen. And maybe because of the pass happy offenses to an extent, but like, again, when you can get guys to do stuff like Mixon and Barkley, Dave Montgomery, like guys that can do stuff that, like, they're a big part of why guys can throw for 400 yards. Guys, because especially in the dump off routes, like, you don't have it, you check down and nobody else, you give it to somebody like them, and they can 5-yard pass turns into a 20-yard gain. So that's crucial in the offenses nowadays. So kudos to them, man. Like, especially somebody like Barkley, who basically languished. Like, he reminded me of Barry Sanders, just wasting his talent on a team that never was going to go anywhere. So I'm kudos to him to go. And I hate Philadelphia personally. Can't stand their coach. Can't stand that city. But as far as for him, like, I'm happy for him that he got out, found somewhere that was benefiting him, and he's getting all the shine now. So kudos to that dude.
He's looking good right now.
He is looking good right now. Do we just gloss over the Raiders? Are we just going past that? Or
there's nothing really to say. If you would go back to
every week,
whatever comment I said last show applies to this show too. So
that goes for the Bears too, buddy. If there's any game, look, man, I could go 0-16. If that 17th game I could beat the Packers, my life is that much better in life. Not only because I got to deal with Packer fans back in Chicago, which I'm going back to next week, I got to deal with the Packer fans here, right? Because there is a large Packer fan base that, because of Chico and all that, like my brother-in-law, he's a big Packers fan. So I got to deal with them, and that sucks. Especially when you're up. I kid you not. I watched that play, and I'm like, they're going to block this kick, right? Like, he's going to block this kick. There's no way that they beat them on a field goal. We don't win these games. Sure enough, blocks the kick. Like, all right, man. Like, am I mad? Yeah, but like, I called it. Like, it's what they do. If it's one step closer to getting rid of the coach, I'm all in, man. So, whatever.
What's the saying in Spider-Man Zendaya? She says, "Was it expect disappointment, never be disappointed?"
And there you go.
That's me as a Raider fan.
Yeah, that's me as a Bears fan. I'm telling you, even in the offseason, before we move on, like, even in the offseason when they got all those players and everybody's like, yeah, we're going to make the playoffs, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, so that's great, man. You got a receiver, you got this, you got that. who's blocking, man. And it's a rookie quarterback. Like, even Jaden Daniels, like, as much as he was the last couple of weeks, he's fell down to earth a little bit. Like, he's played decent, but like, he's a rookie, man. This is what happens with rookies. Like, everybody can't be CJ Stroud. Like, that's an anomaly, man. Like, that doesn't happen most of the time. Peyton Manning threw like 12 interceptions his rookie year. Aikman was like the worst quarterback in the history of the world his rookie year. Like, it happens, man, to the greatest quarterback. So, like, it is what it is. But I never went into the season thinking, I was like, hey, if we make it, that's cool. But my expectations is, because they kept his coaching staff and didn't address the line at all, that this dude was going to be running for his life and probably regress by the middle of the season, which is what happened. So it is what it is, man.
Everything you just said right there, you could have applied to the Raiders, except you guys got to, at least you guys got to like an exciting new young quarterback that hopefully gets a coach, you know. But I mean, that's what I'm saying. Like, say the Raiders do bad enough to where they can draft a good quarterback, who the hell's going to be calling the plays? Like, what kind of staff are they going to have? It's like, man, that's not a top-notch coaching staff that they have right now.
If I could change both of our pictures to Spider-Man so we could point at each other, that's what we would be doing right now, bro. That's it. That's it. All right. Let's go on to semi-happier times, I guess. I mean, there's some happy going-ons with the Kings that happened over the weekend, obviously, and some frustrating things too, right? So I didn't go to any of the games. I know Katrina, she sits on the floor there and everything, and she hobnobs, and that's all good and dandy. That's cool. But you were there Friday night, right, Katrina?
Yep.
That's awesome. So Friday night, Wolves and Kings. Obviously, the Wolves won 130, 126, but nobody was talking about, well, nobody in SAC was talking about that. Everybody else in the world talked about the Wolves winning. Right. We over here, we're talking about Fox dropping 60 like a G.
Yeah.
60 like a G, right? Like, incredible to watch that in real time. Like, just sitting there watching it like, all right, man, I think he's going to hit it. All right, man. Hitting it. All right, man. Yeah. All right.
Yep.
Okay. So what was it like in the building, Katrina?
It was amazing. I mean, it's always kind of electric, but the fact that it was a in-season tournament, cup, whatever you want to call it, game, it was good. The game started off not that great, and the vibes.
Hold on. This is good. It's good. Yeah. Just go ahead, Warren. Make some comments. That's good. No. Stay in the chat, Warren. That's good. That's good. Get your rocks off. Go ahead. All right, go ahead, Katrina. Sorry.
So the vibes were kind of off. I'm about the vibes, and It's just weird. I get really into the game at home, but like in the arena, I am like locked in. Like every time out, I'm like, okay, come on, let's get back to it. And people were getting up, getting drinks, doing that like every chance they could, and I'm like, what are you doing? It was like that the whole game, but just to be there to see what De'Aaron did was amazing. Like, if you didn't know, now you know. Absolutely. And it was just to then lose in overtime, to not get the beam. Is it Mitch?
I thought it was at first. I thought it was lighting up. It's not Mitch yet. It's not Mitch. I'm waiting patiently. It's going to be here every week until Mitch calls. It's hooked directly into New Jersey. It only rings to one number. It will send everybody else to voicemail, but it will ring for Mitch. So hopefully one day Mitch calls in.
Katrina, when you were there at the game, like, I mean, it seems like a stupid question, but can you tell like how many points he was scoring? Like, because it looked effortless, like on TV. You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, it just, okay, Fox gets a layup. Okay, Fox hits a shot. And it didn't look like he was like going for it. You know what I'm saying? It just looked like he was playing. So like what did you see in the arena?
I know it's been a while, David, but in the arena they have a scoreboard. And it shows
I know. Smart ass.
I just want to make sure. My bad.
Yeah, and that's just what it is. He makes it look effortless. And so it was really good to see that, because I could tell he's been dealing with his hand, with his fingers. They've been bothering him. And so I think that was kind of the turnaround for him. But yeah, it was just really awesome to see. Oh, and Malik's response, like the third quarter, he is like his biggest cheerleader. He was up off the bed. That was awesome to see.
I mean, that's just a testament to, you could tell. And I think that's, again, like, I don't think that gets talked enough about Monk coming back. Yeah, he, this became home, and the love of the crowd, the fans, right? But I think there's a big part of it too, and for him, where it was his relationships, relationships with Keegan, his relationship with Fox, even with Brown too. So like, even last year, I've said it before, like I was worried a little bit last year because it seemed like there were tension moments between him and Brown, but I think that was more of, and we'll talk about this later with Herter and Keegan, but I think after being everywhere he had been, he liked being held accountable. He liked Mike telling him, man, ask and do something, man. Like, I think Fox, all these guys, for the most part, have they responded well to the way Mike coaches and the way he doesn't sugarcoat things, and he basically tells them like what he really thinks, right? And even Michael apologized too. Like, if Mike's wrong about something, you've heard Mike say like, "That's my bad, man. Like, I take like." So there's all that. So I think that's a large part of why Monk came back, was things like what you saw Friday. Like you see the way he was with on Friday, and even with Saturday, like, talking shit, free throw, like, and we'll get that too. But like, there's that bond between that guys, and not every team has that. I'm sorry, like, a lot of guys, they'll come to play and they might be cool, but those aren't guys necessarily outside of the arena that they go home to whatever. And like, these guys have families too, but you could tell they hang out, they talk, like all that. So that's refreshing, man. You don't see that on every team, man.
Mm-hmm.
Man, and I mean, we talked about it, ad nauseum in the offseason, but, kind of, you touched on a little bit right now, man. Malik coming back for the amount of money that he signed for, I'm convinced, man, he left a lot of money on the table. It's like, man, he didn't give it a second thought. So kind of like, and this is kind of a tangent, I guess we can talk about it a little bit later, but what they were talking about on the show, that I think Malik had to at least give him a little bit of a heads up to the front office what he was doing. And what I'm getting into is like roster construction, and okay, if you knew he was coming back, you knew you had these guards, and again, Devin Carter, the dude could turn out to be great, right? But it's like, man, that seems so redundant. Was he the best player on the board? Maybe. I mean, we were not going to know for a while. So I don't know. It's just kind of a roundabout way of getting back to where we are now with all these injuries. And, it looks like we have enough guards. It's like we need some forwards, some perimeter defense, because I guess that was the only downer, I guess, that I saw this weekend. Like the games were fantastic, Fox scoring those points, going 1-1 and splitting, but man, that perimeter defense was not it.
No, and I think too, like, it's still the same King shooting woes. It's still the inadequacies of the bench to an extent. Even in wins, you still see that, right? Like, it's nice to see. It's nice to see Trey kind of seem to be rounding into form. He seems to get his legs back. He's hitting those shots. He looks comfortable. He's not hesitating on those threes either. So that's good to see, because they really do need that. Even whether guys are out or not, they're going to need him in the grand scheme of things. So that's good to see. But like, and I know people went crazy about Mike's lineups and stuff. Like, I didn't care about that. Like, he tried something, it didn't work. Uh-oh. Ruh-roh.
She said,
"Forget it." I was waiting for that.
What did I say?
Yeah, it was going to happen. Uh-oh. Ramsey pulled the plug somewhere. So, but I mean, I didn't care. It's not like he left that starting lineup in there for like 50 minutes. It's like he did it for like 6-7 minutes. It didn't work. Cool. It didn't really affect the game per se. You know what I'm saying? So to me, it was like, that's all good and dandy, man. Like, I didn't really have no issue with that. And to be honest, like, I think part of why he did that I think part of why he did it. Hey, welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back. So I think part of it is that at the end of the day, I know this is an argument point for a lot of people, but I do think Sabonis in the long term would be better suited to be a power forward if you can get the right center in there. And I think part of that is why he did what he did. But who knows if that'll actually ever happen. But like you said, man, the frustration with especially after Knet putting up 37 last night and watching him play is like a lot of us that talked about it were like, that's who I saw on the board. Like he seemed like he's ready. And not only that he looked good, but it's like he was a guy that was ready you could play now. And you can't tell me, I know they talked about today on D-Lo where the minutes at, he would have found minutes. He would have forced himself into the lineup somewhere along the line because there's not enough guys right now that are even playing that well. So Mike would have gone to him to just see, hey, let me see what this guy brings. And hopefully he would have brought it, right? So I think he would have found a way to get minutes. So that's the frustrating part that to me, the front office is like, we'll draft this guy. Yeah, he's hurt. So what? We don't need him right now. Like the hell you don't. You need everybody right now. Like you're not a championship team. Like you need to get everybody on. Like this is not a wasted year. This isn't like, oh, well, he'll be back. Let's just say next year he'll be fine. Like, bro, this is a year you're wasting right now if that's the case. Like these guys aren't guys that you waste. Like these guys are ready to compete now. These guys want to win a championship now. I'm not saying they're going to win one this year, but you make progress. You make the playoffs. You make it to the second round. You do all the little steps that get you so you can get to that point so that you're ready, battle tested. Like you can't just be like, oh, well, we don't need guys right now. Like not to say that's exactly what they're thinking, but that's how I felt that when they drafted. Like,
and then kind of like by contrast in this, this whole tear that Fox was on, as amazing as he was, Manny, when you were talking about how comfortable Trey looked shooting the ball, man, Keegan and Herter just I don't know what has happened to them the last couple of games. I mean, Herter, he's kind of been he's been a little bit better than he's been better than what he showed last game. He's been doing okay, but man, Keegan is just, I don't know if he's in his head, but he doesn't look comfortable shooting the ball no more. Seems like it seems like he's not setting his feet anymore in his shot. 'Cause I remember I think his dad was saying that he was getting away from his wide stance and shooting the ball and setting his feet. Seems like he's doing, I don't know, he just doesn't look the same. Hopefully he gets some rest and gets it back, because he's been playing good defense when he's not getting called for fouls every other play. But yeah, man, I'm hoping he gets it together, because if Fox just got a little bit of help this weekend, the Kings were 3-1 instead of 2-2.
And even Herter, like I know I'll defend Herter. Like I know a lot of people are like looking for, but like I know his shot isn't falling, but I've seen a revelation from him on every other aspect of the game.
He's been playing well.
He's playing his defensive positions properly. He's seen the eye. He's had a couple athletic layups I saw. I mean, he's done some other things and he's still and what I still love is I know he's not hitting them, but he's still jacking them up. Like he's still getting some shots up. They might not be hitting. As long as he's taking them and he's doing everything else, I'm okay right now with what he's doing. Obviously, we want him to be the sniper that he can be, but it's a testament to he took all that criticism from last year, all the heat from Mike gave him, and he brushed his shoulders off in the offseason and came back in shape, fully ready to play defense and other aspects of the game. And if you can get his shot to fall to go with that, my God, man, like that's going to be a hell of a player to have on the team.
And then again, Keegan looks like he's been hesitating on some shots, like especially against Atlanta. Man, he passed up some open shots against Atlanta that he didn't take. And I wonder if Mike will get on him for that, like he did, his previous 2 seasons when he was like, shoot the damn ball. So I don't know. I'm curious to see, after getting a couple of days off, what's going to happen.
What do you think, Katrina?
Yeah. Hopefully Keegan gets right and figures out what's going on with him. Friday night, I know De'Aaron kind of laid into him when, Keegan pointed out, well, they lost. Like, yeah, okay,
Mhm.
you shot 60, but we lost. But yeah, okay, well, maybe if you had shot the ball, yeah, because I think it was Keegan and number 9. That number he was not he was he was not shooting the ball. I was like, come on, man. It's that inconsistency for me, but I see the same thing, Manny. I see like his game has changed, improved. He's not in his head like he was last season. So hopefully he can find that shot and
Yeah.
be more consistent.
And Jill Adge pointed it out in the chat this afternoon, and that's where me and her were talking, agreeing on, was that, for all the faults that people think Mike has, and that I get it, some of the frustrations with the lineups and what he does with these players, like he looks at things, whether people like it or not, he looks at the long game with individual players too, and as much as the team, and he sees what he thinks Keon can be, what he thinks Herter can be, and he pushes these guys to their limits. Keegan too, he pushes them to the limits to see, because he's basically telling them like, yeah, you're good, bro, but you can be better. Like you can be better if that's what you want to be, and I'm gonna push you. I'm gonna push you as hard as I can, whether that means yelling at you, benching you, whatever it is, so that you can see. If I didn't care, I would just wouldn't give a damn. I just bench you and leave you at the end of the bench. Like I'm trying to harness what you have and get the full potential out of you, so you don't have any regrets later. You know what I'm saying? Like that's how I see what Mike does. So even when I'm at times I yell at the screen or I say something about Mike, I go back to that and see what some of these players are doing now, and I'm like, all right, man, you're in it for the long game. Like it's not just this season or this next 10 games, so go ahead. I'll be right back. Go ahead.
Yeah, no worries. No, yeah, I mean, I think on the show too, they talked about, players that they want to see get a little bit more playing time. I thought Alex Len did pretty well last game, especially on the defensive end, like, because, Sabonis doesn't change shots. When Sabonis is playing defense, when he plays good defense, he gets into position, gets his hands up, and it's position. Len, he was altering shots. Manny, I was just saying that one of the players that I think maybe should get a little bit more run is Alex Len, especially if you're going up against a bigger lineup. And he had some good blocks in that game. Now offensively, he is what he is, but again, he's probably the only guy on the team right now that can alter a shot.
Yeah.
And as much as our guards, as good as De'Aaron is on getting steals, our guards still get beat a lot of the times. A lot of opposing guards get to the paint. If you don't have a center that's going to put their hands up and block shots, makes it that much harder. So I thought Alex Len did pretty well, especially against Atlanta.
Yeah, he seems like he's in and out of Mike's doghouse a lot. I saw that. He's in and out of Mike's doghouse a lot. So I don't know.
I see you, Johnny. Yeah, but I mean, I'm hoping this time off too will get kind of reset things. It looks like I think, are they getting DeMar and Monk back, or just DeMar and Sabonis?
I don't. It's been kind of on the quiet front. I know they said like they're hoping to get. I'm assuming DeMar and Sabonis will definitely be back on Friday after a good 3 days rest, because it wasn't like they were on. I think Monk is probably more day to day than them. That's what I would assume.
2 weeks, right? 2 weeks for his ankle.
Yeah.
And he'd be reevaluated. So
yeah. So I would assume he's still probably at least another week away before he's game ready. I would be surprised if Sabonis and DeMar aren't playing on Friday. I would be surprised, because if they're not playing on Friday and they've already were out 3 games, like basically that would be a whole week with the lower back, and like I know it's soreness, but it's more than soreness if you're out for more than a week. So I'd be a little bit more concerned at that point.
Yeah, and I have to say, I mean, out of the last 3 games, to lose 2, win 1, it's not like they got blown out.
No, they were in every game.
Lost one game by 1. They lost the other by 4 in overtime. So
and then that last one, like, I mean, Saturday was cool. Fox, he got his 49, which is incredible. Like 109 points. Not only back, like I know, I saw the stats, but for some reason I posted something and never posted, and I don't know what happened. It's probably me late at night. But the first thing I noticed after that game was like they were showing all the stats of 2 games in a row, the total points. I'm like, yeah, but all those guys had days off in between their games. Like,
yeah,
this dude did that in back-to-back nights. Like, that's incredible. That's a whole different animal. Like, that's not that the other one isn't a feat. That's still a feat too. I get it, but we're talking about back-to-back, no rest, carrying the team. Everybody's hurt. Like, come on, man. Come on, man.
And what did he and then what did he have against Atlanta? Didn't he have 29 against Atlanta or something like that?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
I mean,
So
he
man.
Played a damn good game against them too.
6 games and 8 nights practically. I think that's what it was, something close to that. Like, come on, man. Like, and y'all, we're gonna get to that list in a little bit, but I mean, dude, man, like, especially as an outsider, like obviously, like again, man, like I said, so you guys are homegrown, and where me, I'm from the Midwest. Like, obviously, I watched from out there for years and years because I'm a basketball junkie, but and yeah, I joked around every once in a while too, just because they were. I mean, let's be real. I mean, they were bad for a long time. But to watch now, like being here for the last 10 years and like watching the games every single night, and these refs are freaking atrocious, man. Like, bro, like that one where he just got thrown to the ground.
Yeah, that was
in Atlanta was like, and then that last play too, like hand part of the ball, ridiculous. Like, yes, the hand is part of the ball. That means if the dude shoots it and you slap his hand, yes, you should not get that called against you. I get that. When you grab the whole arm and come down on the arm, like that's a foul. That's not hand part of the ball. And sorry, that's not his hand. This isn't this. We're gonna do it. I know we have a doctor here. Sorry, doctor. I'm gonna just take this over for a second. This is a hand. This is an arm. This is an arm. This is a hand. It's not the same freaking thing. It's not, especially in basketball. If you hit this, yes, most of the time they're not going to call it unless you like pull something. You hit the arm, it's a call every single time, man. Like every single time.
Except
I think what gets
except for the yes.
Good.
Yeah.
Except for that. Yeah, except for the Kings and except for De'Aaron and except for in Sacramento. So ridiculous.
Again, what gets me though is the inconsistency, of the calls during the game. It's like, okay, let's say, like I was watching some of the calls on Keegan, especially against Atlanta. And I mean, by letter of the law, some of those were okay. You can call it, when he goes up for the block and the hand is on the back. But okay, if you're going to call that, give De'Aaron that same call. Then, if you're going to give that to Trey, if you're going to give that to whoever, you can give that to Luka. Could call that for De'Aaron, call that for Keegan, call that for Sabonis. It's like, man, I don't know. Too many times. I don't like to blame the refs a lot of the time. I'm usually in the chat saying it's, more of the player's fault than anything. But it's like, man, just if you can do that.
Yeah, I'm a big believer in it's more than just a couple plays here and there that determine the final play, right? Like even if it's the final play, like there's other plays before that happen where you wouldn't have to worry about. But it was so egregious that whole game. It was so bad a lot of that game. To the point of like, oh, y'all don't want them to win. And then even with the last play, like I know it's debatable about whether, to me, he did not step out of bounds at first when he put his legs up, but when he came back down because he was trying to balance himself before he released that ball, I thought his feet. But even still, like they walked off. They didn't even give them a chance to like look at it. Like they wanted no part of even looking at it. Like that's just egregious, man. That's horrible. And for them to even come back the next day, 2-minute report and just double down on that, that's horrific, man.
And you could tell De'Aaron knew. Like De'Aaron knew they weren't going to call that. He was so frustrated and just walked off.
And that kind of, I mean, that's as fans too, especially as Sacramento fans, I think that's what gets people all up in arms sometimes is when you watch a game and you see Ja Morant just jump up and scream and gets a foul call. How many times have you seen SGA drive? I swear, SGA and Trey Young do the same thing. They drive to the middle lane, push off, and then take their jump shot, never get called for nothing, man. So I mean, I don't know. I think it gets kind of frustrating when we're, supposedly we have a star player too who doesn't get that treatment, but then again, you got to play through it, because what's kind of not talked about too, and I don't fault him for this, but your last play, like the last play of the game can't be you dribbling into two players.
Yeah.
I know we don't want him to pass that. We want De'Aaron to take the shot, but either pull up, but you got to be smarter than, okay, I'm going to dribble into their best defender with a guy right next to him.
Either go straight to the rack and take your chance. Yeah, either go to the rack and take your chance, and whether they call a foul or not, at least you force their hand in it, or you pull up and take a jumper. Like either one I'm good with at that point with him, but not trying to do something fancy like and dribbling straight into a double team. Like, and I get it too, man. Like we're tick for tack here, and like he's exhausted, all that. Like I get it. It's not anything where I'm like, God damn it, De'Aaron lost us the game. Like not at all. Like, but like you said, in that play, you have to be decisive. It's a decisive play. You're not calling a timeout. Like I know you're not passing the ball. I forgot who was that said something about pass to the open man.
I don't know.
It was one of the sportscasters. Who was it? And I was Keith. What's his name? You know, Katrina.
Do I?
Huh?
Huh? Do I?
Huh? Keith. What's his last name? Starts with a J. God damn it.
Keith J? What?
Okay, Keith J. There it is. Keith. Oh, it was Ken Rudolph. My bad. Was it Ken? Oh, I thought it was somebody else. But he basically was like, why didn't De'Aaron pass the ball? Like, he was like, he had a man opener. It's like, pass to the open man. Like, what? Like, I'm not worried about that, dude. Half these guys weren't even hitting shots. Like, I'm not worried about you passing the ball to nobody. Like, but just be decisive about what you're doing. That's all. Just make a decision either way. I'm not expecting the refs to give you a call, but at least force their hand in it. Like make them have to be accountable for it. But they're probably still not going to call it, so it doesn't matter. But
no. But I mean, in that game too, to your point, man, the only person who was hitting shots in that game, other than De'Aaron, was Keon. So I mean, you're not passing to Keon, you're not passing to Murray, you're not giving it to. I mean, that's De'Aaron's ball right there. So is what it is. I mean, there's no blame to be put on De'Aaron. It was just in that situation. Like you're saying, I'd like to see him maybe get to a spot and take that midi or get to the bucket, not pump fake and dribble into two players. It's is what it is.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, for sure. But like I said, like that's peanuts compared to what was going on. But like I said, like 1 out 2, everybody. I mean, you had Sabonis out, DeMar out, Monk out. Like they played well. All 3 games they won one, but obviously in all 3 of them they had chances to win. Like they had opportunity. We were afraid more that they were going to get blown out here and there at some point, and it didn't happen. So that's encouraging. And we still haven't seen this team gel yet. Like we haven't seen them at full strength. We haven't seen them play up to their capabilities yet. And so, I mean, there's a lot of growth left in the team.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I wondered that myself. I was like,
I know, man. It was close.
What'd I say? Peanuts?
When you said it's peanuts that we're talking about, I was like,
I'm not peanut nuts. I just said peanuts.
I was blaming my internet. My internet is holding on it's raining hella hard here.
That's ham internet right there. You are on ham Wi-Fi. For sure. For sure. But I mean, much needed rest, right? Much needed rest that they needed for everybody. I think, like Ham said, like I think everybody agrees. Like, yeah, there's injured players that need rest, but nobody needs it more than Keegan right now. He needs to get out of his head. He needs to just kick it back. Really, he just needs to have if I was the coach, I'd be like, bro, go enjoy yourself, do something, go to Disney, whatever, man. Just go. Like, don't worry about basketball right now for a day or two. And then
Disneyland? Is he a Disneyland kind of guy?
I would love to see him with the straight face just go on all the rides. Like that would be ultimate Keegan. Like just not smile one time in Disneyland. Not smile one time. Just go on the rides, take pictures, wear Mickey ears with the serious face. Like that's what I need. That would be hilarious. That would be hilarious.
No, how to on the golf course before
I need
the
him to
storm
go with.
hit.
What happened?
What?
I didn't hear you.
Hopefully he got out on the golf course before the storm hit. That's what I'm hoping.
There you go.
So what do you guys thoughts about the team overall at this point? Like, I know we have a little break, but how are you feeling about them?
I mean, they're game over. I think their record shows a little bit their inconsistency right now because of injury, because of a little bit of a slow start for some players. But I mean, it's, they're not, I think D'Lo said it today. What are they, 2 games out of 4th, 3 games out of a 3rd, and whatever it was. It's not like anybody's running away with it right now. So, if they string together some games, find some consistency, I mean, they could be right there again. I'm not down on the team by any means, but I just think the word, that everybody seems to use right now is they're just a little bit inconsistent, and it's due to a variety of things. So no panic button yet or anything like that, but they have to start stringing together some wins though, because, there's other teams that, your Houstons, your Golden States, your, some of these other teams that are look ready to step in if you're not going to do it.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Like, you don't want to, because there's going to be teams that get hot. Like, I think everybody's kind of in that feeling. Like, a lot of teams right now are still like New York. Like, we all know New York at the end of the day is going to be better than what they've been playing. Houston's probably going to get better. I know people don't. There's some people. I have high expectations out of that team. Joe, what happened?
Ben just showed up. Talking about the Packers.
Oh, that's awesome, Ben. Now you make us really feel part of the 1320 family. That's great. Even here,
he's on brand.
On brand for sure. At this point, I think it's a gimmick. But yeah, but the last thing you want to do is have a bunch of teams go on some hot streaks or get hot and you're left behind and having to climb back up into everything, right? So you don't want to have to climb back into it. I love Katrina's screen is the best. It shows her smiling and then it does a Max Headroom thing, like, and it just goes into another, like, you look like Katrina Headroom. Like, it's just like, you ever seen the character, you know what I'm talking about.
No, I don't even know what you're talking about.
Oh, that's great.
Oh, man.
Michigan knows. He's been around since the dawn of time. I know he knows who Max Headroom is.
Now I'm feeling old now too, man, because I know exactly what you're talking about.
You know. It's a classic character, man. All right. Before we get into music, though, I do want to ask you guys real quick, what did you guys think about the Inside the NBA stuff? Yay, nay, don't care? I know the guys were like, they really don't care, but I personally, I'm glad. Like, I'm glad that they found a way to get traded, I guess, to an extent. So
I know I didn't want to see it end. Yeah. I mean, it is, the best show, the best post game show. It's funny.
Yeah.
Everybody, it's entertaining. I didn't want it to go away per se, but I mean, I don't care which network it's on. Are you on, Katrina? Are you frozen?
Why dogs want to go out in the rain? I don't know. But sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, and I was just saying it. I didn't want to see the show end. I don't care which network they're on or anything like that. But I mean, I'm glad it's going to continue. But I do wonder how it's going to go.
Yes, again, love it.
This rain is messing us up.
I honestly, like, the part of it, I'm really, and it's going to sound cheesy, but like, I'm glad a bunch of people get to keep their jobs, man, because that's as many people as it takes to produce that show. Like, there's going to be big time layoffs to guys that have been doing this forever behind the scenes. So I think that's cool that was part of it, that it wasn't just them. It wasn't just
Hey, I'm back.
Hey, it's not just them, like, where it's like, oh, the guys that make billions of dollars get to keep a show. It's like, no, that the same people that are producing them get to keep their jobs and producing it. And that I think that's dope, man. Like, that's a pretty good thing. Like, it wasn't just a show going to ESPN. It's no team. TNT and Turner still produces it, so it's still going to be in the same studios being done. So that's cool to me. That's a great part to me. I'm the human factor of it. So.
How about you, Katrina? You better get something. You better get something out before you freeze again. So
I don't know. I don't know if I'm frozen or not. What are we talking about?
Yeah, we just started the show. We just started, girl.
Where am I? Inside the NBA. Yeah, I don't want it to end. So, but honestly, some of the Shaq stuff recently.
Yeah.
Little. And I mean, Shaq's one of the reasons I fell in love with basketball. So it's kind of hard.
Yeah,
I was cursing. I was cursing my internet out too.
Well, that's the thing, Kyle just said. Yeah, they are. They're part of it is they're gonna be there for the final. Like that's something they've never done.
Right.
So like that's dope. Like that's something new. Like I don't think people like forget about that. Like they get a certain round of the playoffs and then they're out of it. ESPN takes over. So that's cool that they get to be part of the. That's hilarious to me. I think Charles is gonna be hilarious for the final. Like, don't let a team be up like 3-0. Oh, he's just gonna be talking nothing but trash. And don't let San Antonio ever get in so you can talk about San Antonio women during the finals. Oh
no.
That's gonna be it. But yeah, I'm with you on the Shaq thing, like the whole Angel Reese and like things he said, like, but it's almost like he's on that plane of like, not that these guys do that, but like Snoop and like such an upper echelon where like doesn't matter what he does, he's uncancelable. Like you can't cancel. Like a lot of other people would be canceled or like at least be put in a box for a while. And this dude just like whatever, man. The stuff he did with Trista, like, come on, bro.
Right.
Like,
yeah.
Like I don't know if that's really him or his people. Like that's the only thing I don't know. Like I know that's weird to me that he would answer like his own stuff. But even if it was somebody in his team, he's telling them to do that. So at the end of the day, it's still him, even if it's him not necessarily typing. Because I don't know if he can spell or not. I'm not sure about that. But it's hilarious. Like it's like, bro, like you're doubling. Like it's not hilarious, but it's like he could do no wrong. It seems like that stuff was creepy, man. Like as a father of a girl, like, yeah, bro, no.
Yeah,
that's not it, man, and that's no way to represent either.
Nope.
So, well, we'll see what they do.
Your Epson printers or Epson printers.
Let's get into some music. Music. I thought it was I kind of was mad, a little bit mad this afternoon because I brought it up to like, as I called in to say it, like just to give our show a little oomph, and then they ran with it. I'm like, bro, stop saying albums. Stop saying that. D'Lo, stop saying albums. KC, stop saying albums. This is my stuff. So I called a lawyer. Apparently I can't do anything about it.
Yeah.
So much stick, but that's fine. That's fine. That's okay. So that's why I kind of hit you guys. Like, I know they named a whole list of stuff, right? And I started looking through it, and like, so back in the day, The Source did what was 5 mics in their magazine, right? Like everybody always went to it at the back. Like, let's see what The Source said about these albums that are coming out from our favorite artists, right? And the way it was listed was basically the 5 mics was what was considered a superior album. It basically contained high lyrical content, production quality, creativity, and relevance to the hip hop culture. Those were basically the standards set in these people creating the 5 mic category. What was hilarious was, you went down your rabbit hole, Tasha, and I was looking into it too. I'm sure David looked at a couple things. And they mentioned down the show was there was only, what did we say, 14 albums that were actually considered 5 mic albums back in the day. And then they went back and re-rated like another 25, 30, whatever it was. I know I'm off on the number, but the part of me though was like, that's dope because I do this with the serials and I get flack for it. What's 10 out of 10 when I review the serials. Like for me, like you got to go like you have to like everything has to be perfect for it to be a 10, or like you can't just give away 10s. Like, then what's the point of it being
Right.
like the highest echelon? You know what I'm saying? So that's kind of cool that it should not be a lot of albums, but some of those left off the list, like the Dre albums, Ready to Die, like that's kind of nuts to me. Because for me, on first listen, like those were top 5 easily by every measurable possible. So I got to open this door real quick, but what do you guys, what for you constitutes a 5 mic album?
Let you take it first, Katrina, before you freeze.
Yeah, never know. Yeah, for me, it's the creativity with the lyrics, and then the storytelling with that. And then obviously like the beats, the sound, the production with that. Yeah, I think we each went down a different rabbit hole about what albums were given 5 mics. I kind of went down like which ones weren't.
Right.
You know, and I got my love for E40, mainly for the lyrics, the creativity. That man's made 27 albums, and
Damn, really?
27.
I did not know that.
I didn't know.
That's also regional too. Like you guys definitely know way more about E40 than I do. Like I knew about him growing up, and because of my surroundings, but I didn't like it wasn't played a lot of Chicago. Like it had to be at certain parties and like that. So that's dope though. Damn, that's a lot.
For me, like
The name of the album is. I would like to tell. Would you like to play a game?
She's had it. She's like,
She's got one
go
of
ahead,
those.
you're there now. Go ahead.
Oh,
You're
am
good.
I here? Okay.
Yeah,
You're here.
So out of the original 15, okay, I agree with it. I think for me, it was some of the albums that were given the 5 mics later, right? Dr. Dre, The Chronic, yes,
Both of them.
both of them.
Yeah.
I was getting there. I was getting there.
Sorry.
But I was talking about E40. For me, I was listening to Charlie Hustle and Loyalty and Betrayal. Those albums dropped in 99 and 2000. Those were on repeat basically until Dr. Dre 2001 came out. So for me, that, and it's still in rotation.
Which one is more prevalent for you guys? The Chronic or 2001? There's no wrong answer. Everybody has for me, it's The Chronic.
The Chronic.
That's what spun me from the country hell that I was in.
I don't even know how you let yourself be in there, but okay.
What was around me, I guess.
White people.
You got to come out to the 707 to understand, Manny. It's still pretty country out in the rural areas.
I'll believe it.
St. Helena's.
Yeah, I wouldn't know.
Thank God my grandma lives in Oakland. So yeah, so I guess I would say The Chronic, but yeah, Dr. Dre, 2001, Snoop, Doggy Style, and Tupac, All Eyes on Me.
Yeah, I'll never understand how Ready to Die. And it wasn't even like some of those that you mentioned weren't even like at 4.5. They literally were only at but they were at 4. And I was like, bro, how did Ready to Die ever be 40? Like Ready to Die was like, I'm with Damien on the Ready to Die. Like to me, that was everything. Ready to Die was everything for me. So what albums did you not see? Like what are some 5 mic albums that you think are 5 mic albums that weren't on the list that for you personally, for you and your rotation is a 5 mic album?
One of them that's on the list, it's a 4 mic album, but I guess kind of what you were talking about and a little bit what Katrina was talking about when you're looking at creativity, lyrics, cultural relevance, and I would say not just cultural relevance, but like I don't know what the word for it is, but if you got something to say, And one of the albums that I think it's funny to say, but it's kind of underrated because it gets outshined by a double disc album. I think Me Against the World I honestly think that was Tupac's best album. When you look at the songs and just the stuff the stuff he's rapping about, and Katrina was talking about, a storyteller. Tupac wasn't one of them guys who were just going to start spitting bars as fast as he could and, doing a play on words or anything like that. When Tupac rapped, he was saying something for a purpose, whether that be, just a dancing type song, or if he actually saying something about society. So, I mean, that's one of the albums that I could listen to the whole way through. It doesn't have as many number one hits as some of the other albums mentioned, but I mean, that's definitely up there. And I think another album that to me, and again, Manny, what you were talking about, it's regional. It's what you grew up with. It's, the times that you like kind of when you started listening to rap was Dog Food and the Dog Pound.
That was a
I love
classic.
listening to that album. That was one of the albums that I love to listen to. Again, it may not be thought of as well as some of the other ones or anything like that, but at that time when I started to listen to music and when I was, kind of becoming aware of more things, when you're 14, 15, 16 years old, I think those two albums for me just kind of, I don't know, spoke to me. So
Was Let's Play House on that
Yes.
album? I
Yes.
had that single, and that was
They had the run where all those guys, because they were all on each other's albums for a while, they did that whole thing, and it was Doggy Style, Dog Food, like all that. That was a hell of a run, because to me, those I believe, and I think Doggy Style and that album were back to back, basically.
they were.
And they all were like,
yeah.
you could run through both albums as a double album and not have to pause not one time. Like, just it ebbed and flowed. Like, literally one day, put those two albums together and listen to them. It's literally, I'm not gonna say that same album because they have their own little thing to it, but it ebbs and flows perfectly together. Like, that's where they were. They all were connected. All those guys were like they were in their bag at that point.
Because I think too, one of the things for me, I think Corrupt. I think he's one of the most underrated MCs out there.
I do too.
You're talking about a dude who could just spit. I mean, I think Corrupt can hold up. Like, I can't remember what album it was on. Maybe Katrina or Manny, you might know. There was a quote unquote secret track that if you when you push rewind on some of them, then the other track pops up. It was with him and
I remember that. I don't remember what album.
You don't remember
it was,
that?
though.
He was.
I remember it, but I don't remember what album it was.
Yeah, he was Corrupt and KRS-One that they were freestyling, and it was like, man, Corrupt was on another level, and KRS-One, he could freestyle. But anyway, going back to what we were talking about, those two albums I mentioned were just ones that spoke to me and that got a lot of play. I don't have a problem with anybody on the list. That was, the source I pulled it up to. I didn't have a problem with any of those. What about you, Manny?
There was one on the list I literally went back to before the show because it threw me off, was the Ghetto Boys. It was, I think, at 4.5 mics, and then it went to 5. And to me, it wasn't even like, out of all their albums, like, that was probably like 4th on the list for me of Ghetto Boy albums. I was like, all right, it was on there too. It was one of the 4 mic ones that supposedly they went back and changed it to a 5 mic. It was, I'll tell you right now because I have it on my other screen. It was, where'd it go?
Yeah, I'm looking too.
Breaking, no. Where'd it go? Breaking Out, The Chronic. Grip It on the Other Level. It was on one of the albums that, that was not, I wouldn't even give that 3, but that's, to me, wasn't even close to being some of their best work, but it is what it is.
I wouldn't have.
I went literally started going through all their albums and I was like, yeah, that ain't it, bro. I don't know where you.
I think we can't be stopped was better.
Yeah.
No,
hell album's better. They obviously they changed their lineups a couple times on who was in the Ghetto Boys too, but for me, like, that's not on the list. For me, Redman, Muddy Waters is one of my favorite albums of all time. Even his Dare is the Dark Side is a very underrated album, but it's a little darker. But Muddy Waters to me is, I mean, the dude's incredible, period. He's still, right now, I think he's on his hottest streak ever doing like freestyles on Instagram. Like he's taking all these old beats of guys and rapping over them and just killing it. And it's insane.
Yes.
It's insane what he's doing. Like, if you haven't peeped him out, go check out his Instagram. Like he literally is taking he's basically jacking for beats, and he's like insanely killing it. But Muddy Waters is my favorite Redman album ever. Jay Dilla Donuts is a 5 mic album for me, but I'm also like I'm a Jay Dilla stan. So like anything Jay Dilla does, I'm been on top of for years. I didn't see this, and maybe I missed it. Was Miseducation of Lauryn Hill was not a 5 mic album on that list?
I didn't see it on there.
That's incredible to me. I remember when that came out. Huh?
Was it a 4.5?
I didn't see it on there. Like I didn't see it on. Maybe I missed it. Maybe I just scrolled past it. But
I don't see it at all.
Yeah, that to me, that's crazy.
When did they cut this off? When did they stop? Like,
oh, that's a good question. I could have sworn hers when it came out, the source was still running, but I could be wrong. Maybe I'm wrong. Because if they had the Fugees on there, I figured they must have had.
Yeah, they got the score.
There.
They got the score on here,
and it was right after that. So, because the score was basically the last album together. So maybe I'm wrong, but if it wasn't for me, I listened to that every morning for like 2 months straight after it came out. Like I thought it was one of the most. Not only well put together, but like her lyrics were next level. Her singing was on par. Her messages were like what she talked about and everything. Like it was basically like a story of her life. Like, so I just remember being in awe of that album. Like, especially in that time too, to be a female MC and to show all her ranges. And she kind of was vulnerable in that too, talking about her son. And she kind of talk smacked about the group too, but like Lost Ones is one of the illest diss songs. Like she killed everybody. She bodied whoever she was trying to body on there. She was bodying everybody. So that was one of my favorite. I mean, it was also I started considering like stuff that that just is too like, and I want to get to this with you guys too. Like once the source was gone, right? Like obviously what albums. We'll get to that too. I mean, I'm not going to get ahead of myself. I don't know. Back in the day, it was the golden age. I mean, I know people don't like to hear it in the newer generation, but it was the golden age of hip hop, man. Like it could not be stopped in the late 90s, early 2000s, especially through the 90s and early 2000s. Like, dude, hip hop was on another level. Like everybody was dropping classic albums. Like it was crazy how much was coming out. So, but like even some of the biggest stars to me, LL, I don't know if I ever say any of his albums were like 5 mics. They were close, but I always thought there was something missing. Like Buster was the same way. Like I didn't think Buster really ever had a 5 mic album. I thought he had some good ones and he had some great songs on a lot of albums, but I thought there was a lot of his albums I could like just kind of like skip and go to the next song too. So I don't know. What about you, Katrina?
If I could give a concert, 5 mics, Busta Rhymes is up there.
Oh, for sure.
I saw him at Trey's in Vegas.
Yeah.
That
the
man,
energy.
He was drinking a bottle of tequila and just he's insane. Him, Redman, Method Man, guys like that, if you ever get a chance to see them live, I will go watch them every single time just off the energy alone, because you will be guaranteed to have a good time. You're gonna have a good time at their concerts.
Well, you bringing them up, Manny, and you're talking about that golden age of hip hop. It was a golden age of hip hop for multiple areas too. You had New York, you had the West Coast, you had Wu-Tang Clan. You had, Master P and them doing their stuff in the South, Goody Mob, Scarface, Outkast.
Scarface, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's, Outkast number one, And that leads me to my next question. So for you two right here, Aquemini or ATLians?
Oof.
Mm.
I'm gonna take it
I
further.
mean,
I'm gonna take Southern Playalistic. Like the original for me is, I mean, I love them all. Like you can't go wrong with any of them. Like I'm never gonna sit there and fight over it. But just the original for me, and there's always to me there's something special about the first time you hear somebody. So for me, because that was the first album I heard, there's a special place for that. So I'm a little biased when it comes to stuff like that. I'm the same with LL. Like radio is what made me convert from being a metalhead to a full-fledged, I'm spinning on my head, hitting Underground Trail, y'all. Like I literally went 360 because of radio. So no matter what else he does or he has done, that to me is the pinnacle of him.
And see, that's what I was talking about earlier. See, I like ATLians, but it's not because it's better than anything else. It's when I started listening to music, I mean, that's the sound, that I first heard from them. So like, it always goes back to that record for me. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know.
Yeah.
What about you, Katrina?
I think I'm with you, David, with that. I'm just trying to pull up like all the songs and hope that I don't freeze. Yeah.
Michigan.
But bringing it back to E40 for a second, I know Warren said in the chat, for him, 2 of his 5 mic albums from E40 are My Ghetto Report Card from 06 and In a Major Way in 95. And back in 95, that's like, when we like people around our age, really started getting into E40, and he was on the radio. So those are my 4 E4. I had to narrow out of the 27. I had to narrow it down to 4.
You got me wanting to actually line them up because that's not my wheelhouse. Like I like him, but he's never been what he is to you guys. So like I literally I love doing stuff like that. Like, all right, man, I'm gonna line up 27 of his albums and like listen to them all. Obviously, it's gonna take a long time to do, but like I do want to do that just because I want to see his progression. Like, and I love the fact that like no one can ever say like he copied anybody or did anything like any. Like he created his own language for God's sake. Like dude created his own way to speak, and people to this day, like they understand it, they speak it. Like it's insane. So I think there'll never be another person like him. He can hang his hat on that, and that's dope as hell. And I've always liked him anyway. Like I've ran in groups where they thought he was whack, but it was more because like New York does this, Chicago does this, even LA does. Like they do this thing where it's like, man, y'all don't sound like we hard, we this, we that. Like wherever you grew up or wherever you were brown, man, that's what you identify with, right? But you can also when you're a kid, I get that mentality. But like part of hip hop, what hip hop is about is it's supposed to be all encompassing. Like you include everybody's own. It's a gumbo. It's a gumbo of sounds. You know what I'm saying? So it's like I love now, especially in the technology, because back in the day, I'm sorry I'm going off on a tangent, but like back in the day, you had local artists that you probably still know to this day. Like Katrina, I'm sure you know local artists, right? David, you know the local. I know people in Chicago that you'll never hear of, but I know who they are, and I could play you their stuff. Like, and you would never be able to hear that unless you visited cities or your cousin lived in Chicago or New York. And nowadays, like you could just pull up their name on Apple or Spotify, or whatever, and you'll be somebody like, and just go listen to their whole catalog, right? So, and I think that's the beauty of it, is like being able to like experience the guys that don't make it too. Like I can name a whole bunch of people that I still listen to on regular rotation that they've never been 5 mic'd or they've never, sold. They don't have gold records and all that, but their stuff is banging and they're awesome lyricists and all that. So that's the great thing about nowadays. Like you can listen. I don't know. That's why I hate when people are like hip hop is dead or they don't have MCs like they did back then. Yeah, they do, but you're too lazy to go look for it. I'm not saying they're going to be number 1 on the charts or their videos are playing everywhere, but there is plenty of quality hip hop out there for whatever kind of hip hop you love. If you want to go and find it, that's all there is to it. So.
And there's nothing wrong with it being different. Like I hear some of the stuff my son listens to, and I'll admit I'm that old head sometimes who, is like, oh man, I like my stuff better. Our stuff, it wasn't. It was different. I think Kenny brought that up too one time. It's like, the kids like what the kids like, and I was that age one time too. And I don't know, like you're saying, Manny, you can find good hip hop, you can find good music. It's just I think people have to realize that too. Times change a little bit. But then again, I mean, man, have you heard Snoop's new one? Have you heard a couple of his songs on there?
The new Dr. Dre album?
No, the Snoop one. What's it called again? Man, I just had it up on my phone. The whatever new one he's.
You talking about Missionary?
Doing. Yeah, Missionary.
No, that's the Dre. Well, yeah, I mean that's.
Was that Dre? Well,
that's
yeah,
Dre.
I was talking about the song.
The Gorgeous.
Yeah, I was talking
Gorgeous.
about the song.
It is a banger.
Yeah,
it is a banger. I'm excited for this album. It is a banger. I was playing it like back to back to back to back just to. I was like, bro, if this is what the album's gonna sound like, I'm all in, man. This is. I'm gonna call it Harrison Barnes. That's what I'm gonna call it. But Harrison Barnes is a banger. That's all I'm gonna tell you.
I'm saying now we need to have a little chatty house.
We could do a listening party.
No, we need a field trip because Snoop's
okay.
right up the street in right after Christmas. December 27th. Snoop and DJ Quick.
Oh damn. Okay. All right. I have to make that work. Might have to make that work.
Man.
So the source is gone, all that. What are some albums in the last 10 years, whatever, like since the source has been gone that you've listened to that you consider five mics that are classics that aren't, like again, like I'll go real quick. Like for me, Run the Jewels RTJ4, that's a classic to me. I love that album. The Buster did an album a couple years ago called Extinction Level. To me, that was the first time I heard a whole album from him that was a five mics. Rhapsody's Eve album for me was Nipsey Hussle Victory Lap. I thought was a five mic. Mac Miller's Kid, which is I know some people, they're not Mac Miller fans, that's fine, but I've always been a Mac Miller. I always liked the way he pushed envelopes. He was Pimp a Butterfly. Kendrick was, I know they talked. Yeah, I know they talked about that somewhat on the show. My other one was Nerd, their first album. Like I thought that was after Source but that Nerd blew me, like Pharrell, and then blew me away with their sounds and their techniques, and it was something new, different, and it was dope. What do you guys got, Katrina?
Kendrick. For me, Kendrick. And that's my question. Okay, so since five mics ended, how many five mics does Kendrick get? How many five mics does Drake get?
We're gonna go do that. I knew that was coming.
Kenny's gonna call.
Hello, KC.
Yeah, right.
Man, but see, I couldn't answer that because I'm a Kendrick fan, and I mean, I'm just like D'Lo. For whatever reason, I just cannot get into Drake's music. It's okay. Like if it's on, fine. But I'm just not a Drake fan, and I'm not getting into any of the beef stuff or anything like that. Or I think Drake is this or that. It just his music never. It was just not something I never listened to.
There's an audience for him, and that's fine.
Oh, absolutely.
There's nothing wrong with that, and it's a big audience, and there's nothing wrong with it. I'm just saying, like I think Drake is fine lyrically. He's done some dope stuff. I still will always. I love that Sprite commercial. I love what he did with what was the remix with the one he did the Sprite commercial for. I can't even remember the one with that Eminem in the remix and all that. But greatest rapper of all time, whatever that was. That was dope. But like, I've never like gone through a whole album of his where I've had a necessity to listen to it more than probably once again after that. Like. It just doesn't capture me where Kendrick does. There's more, for me, there's more substance to Kendrick. Drake is that party club, like that's cool. when I'm out partying and have my drinks, like, I'll jam to it, I'll dance to it. That's cool. But like, it's not in my car playing when I'm driving down. Like, I'll listen to Kendrick for like deep thought type stuff, like, or just to like, you know what I'm saying? So I'm with David. I'm biased on it. I can't even lie. So I'm always going to put more Kendrick over Drake. That's just how I feel.
Yeah, I'm the same, but at the same time, I've always listened to Drake. I've always had love for Drake, but if I had to choose a side, I'll go with Kendrick.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and I admit the bias. Like, I would say like that. I'm sure there'll be people that tell you Drake has 2 to 3 5 Mike albums, and I'm not going to argue with them. That's how you feel. That's the whole point of it. Like, if that's the beauty of music in general, is like albums capture moments of time for us. There's albums that you can go back to, and even if you have a bad memory, like I can if I hear something on the radio, I remember what I was doing when I was listening to that sometimes, or that period of my life whether I was happy, sad, whatever was going on, right? Like, music brings that for you. There's a comfort to it, you know. So we are triggered by different types of music. Like, you know, they were asking like Ham, like jokingly, but it's true too. Like, you can do like, Ham, what's your 5 Mike albums? Like, he's got to have them. You know, Kyle has it. Most of Kyle's are going to be Korean pop, and that's fine. It's K-pop. That's cool. But that for him, that's what, you know, that's what he gravitates towards. And there's nothing that's awesome. But if you gave, I'm sure he could do a list of, you know, 5 Mike K-pop albums. Like, we can all do that for the genres we love.
Speaking to that point, I mean, can you leave Eminem out of some of this stuff? You know, I mean, I thought I was kind of with D'Lo. I thought Eminem's last album, man, I thought it was great.
Yeah, it was dope.
I don't know if it's 5 mics, but I mean, I can listen to that thing from first song to the last song, you know, and not skip. You know, that's kind of one of the. I think that's one that has to be one of the criteria too. Is how many skips are in that in that album?
Like, for me, I can't give anything 5 mics if I got to skip by one song.
Right.
It's not a 5 micer to me. 5 mic, it has to be as flawless as possible. Like, it has to be an ultimate album, or otherwise it's 4.5 or 4. And there's nothing wrong with that either. It's still a great album. But to me, 10, it's like it's perfection. For you personally, it's got to be a perfect album. I know some people argue that, and I'm sure D'Lo would argue that. Like, everybody, but to me, like, obviously it doesn't have to be perfection upon perfection, but I just think it does have to be somewhere. If you skip one song, then it can't not be 5 mics. It has to be 4.5. Like, that's just what it is, man. Because you found a flaw in it. You found a chink in the armor. So,
well, what you were talking about too, man, and when you were listening to all the other, you know, listing all the other genres of music, like how Ham would have his list or Kyle would have his list. Is there a type of music or a genre of music, you know, just real quick, you know, what are some of your 5 mic albums, you know, for a different type of music? Because I was going over that and I was going down that rabbit hole like we were talking about earlier, and I was like, man, I think Thriller.
Oh, for sure, Thriller.
You know, Thriller, to me, that's like the gold standard. I mean, that you know, that was just one of them ones. Like, what about you guys? Like, any other? And another one for me was Wasting Light by the Foo Fighters. So again, different genre of music, but you know, that was one of my favorite albums too. So how about you guys?
Katrina?
Oh no.
Oh yeah. Frozen mics.
Oh,
all right, you're on.
Okay. Yeah, Michael Jackson. It was kind of cool in the Discord some weeks back. We were talking about house music. And Manny knew exactly who I was talking about. Michigan, too, about these artists that came out of Chicago. I had my little time like in the club, house music. I thought that was really cool. But I'm pretty much all hip hop.
For me, I could go up spectrums. Like, Def Leppard's Hysteria album is one of my favorite all-time albums. I will rock out. I will put on a long hair wig. And I won't do anything freaky or nothing like that, but I'm gonna headbang a little bit to the songs. I like the Foo Fighters one that was on my list. That's dope. What was the other ones I was just thinking of? I just had it too. New Edition's first album. For right now, it slipped out of my head the name of the album. That was dope. Johnny Gill's first album.
Yeah.
All those guys' first albums when they broke off for a minute, Yeah, Bobby Brown's My Prerogative. That whole album, I can listen to the whole album. So that's crazy. I don't remember. I forgot. I think it's called. I think the name of the album. It's also a song. It's called Bizarre Love Triangle. New Order. That's one of my favorite alternative groups that I grew up on. So like, I can go up and down the spectrum of stuff like that because, like I said before, I got into hip hop. I was into a bunch of other stuff, and I still am. I still love those groups. So that's cool. But yeah, those are some of the ones that Purple Rain. My girl will slap the shit out of me if I don't mention Prince. So Purple Rain is an all-time, not only movie, but like the album itself is flawless to me. And he did a bunch of flawless stuff, but I think for me, Purple Rain is my favorite album he did. I thought was a pretty flawless album. And if you guys ever get a chance, go visit that house. If you're ever in Minneapolis, if you ever do the tour, my girl had to do it. We did it. It is an incredible tour. It's pretty crazy how what his house looks like inside. But yeah, I think that as far as like all like that's all. I know there's a bunch more, but like that's the first ones that pop out the top of my head.
You can go on forever.
Yeah, you can go on in any genre, really. Like you're gonna go on forever on that stuff, which is what's dope. So I know I was gonna ask, what was?
I have to throw out one that I was reminded of the other day by our girl Nicole in the chat. She mentioned "Waiting to Exhale" soundtrack. That was epic. That was a no skip.
There you go. There you go. Last one. What's your? You just said "Waiting to Exhale," right? No skip. What's your favorite soundtracks? 5 mic soundtracks. That might have to be for another day. I don't know.
Might be for another day.
The Wash. Dr. Dre and Snoop. The Wash.
Man. Okay. Well, I mean, two very different albums. I would say Above the Rim.
Yeah.
And man, I like the Forrest Gump album with all those old school classic rock songs.
See, I'm down with that too.
Like, yeah, those are pretty good soundtrack.
Anything I can hear, like, especially because I grew up with my mom playing the 70s as a kid, like, so I gravitate to anything like the 60s and 70s. I always end up gravitating to, like, I'll go on the Apple, what do they call that? Like the essentials, and like I'll just roll through those whole decades of the 60s and 70s. It's like man,
that's a good one, Dave.
Being a kid. What did he say?
Dead President soundtrack.
Oh yeah, that was good. Juice soundtrack was dope. I love the Juice soundtrack. Yeah. That was dope.
Did you hear me? I said the Wash soundtrack. I
was thinking about that because I can't remember off the top of my head that soundtrack. Like I know I've heard it.
Dre,
I can't remember everything.
Exhibit.
Oh, that's right. Okay, because I think Dre did a lot of that. Oh, shoot, Black Panther soundtrack was.
Yeah, that was good.
Dude, the way he did that whole album, like that was fire. So that was dope.
Man, I thought the soundtrack to that Into the Spider-Verse, that animated one. It's like, man, a lot of people feel one way or the other about Post Malone, man, but that dude's pretty talented, man. Like, did you guys hear that that concert he did where he it was during the pandemic where he covered the Nirvana songs?
Mm-hmm.
Did you guys listen to that?
Yes.
I mean, it's like, man, Post was bad, man.
Bro, the first concert we ever took Ellie to was Post Malone at Golden One. We all were like, I don't know, should we be taking this? I think she was like 4 years old, 5. And we're like worried about it at first. And I swear there were so many people with their kids. He put on, like, people can say whatever they want about him, whether you like him, that's fine. He came out in his pajamas. And I will tell you, I have seen, but like, he put on one of the best concerts I've ever seen as far as like giving his all. Like sometimes you don't need to. And we saw Prince in his last concert he did at Oracle. He was just on stage with the piano. Like some people don't need all the fancy lights and MC Hammer-ish stuff. Like if you're good, you're good. Like if you give your soul to the audience, if you give them everything you got, they feel it. The crowd feels it. And it's the most enjoyable. And that's what Post did that. Like you could feel the emotion. Like you could tell Post been through. I mean, you could tell also in other ways, but you could tell Post been through some stuff. And you could tell he struggles mentally with a lot of stuff. And you could feel his emotions in every song that he sang. It was pretty dope. it was pretty dope. We enjoyed that concert. I enjoyed that more than I thought I was going to. So I have to give kudos to him on that. That he's a dope performer live. He said shots. I've been to his concerts too, and while it's a great presentation, as far as performance-wise, it was I saw him when 357 and Vanilla Ice went on tour.
Dave Garcia mentioned another good one too, man. If you like old school songs, the Friday soundtrack.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that. We're going to revisit this because I want you guys to think about it. We're going to revisit this at some point because soundtracks is a whole nother different thing, man. So we're going to revisit that. But we're at 9:30. We've been on for a while. That was a good one, man. I enjoyed that a lot. I wish some of the guys could have been on for that. We might have to revisit some of that when Don comes on, because when Don is dope is on, that is the hip hop connoisseur for sure. So we're gonna have to revisit that. So thanks, guys, for joining us. We greatly appreciate it. We know we kept you on a little bit longer than usual, but it was great decisions. Great discussions. Katrina was on for the most part. So we appreciate her sticking it out. I'll come look at your internet tomorrow.
No,
man, figure that out. The storms, it's a storm. But thanks. Don't forget, next Wednesday, 8:00 again. I'm gonna be coming on live from Chicago. So I don't know if I have snow or not. I hope not, but from what I hear, we might have snow. So we'll see how that goes. So thanks for joining us. Peace out, y'all.
Chatty House. We ballin', boy. We going up at the Chatty House. We talk about it all, bring the family out. Sub to the channel, hit the likes now. And we only going up when the lights down. Yeah, we just getting started. Ain't no party like a Chatty House party. We just getting started. Ain't no party like a Chatty House party.